Oh, I never thought I'd enjoy hearing Green Day so much. Welcome to LFG, the it's Thursday at 10:49 a.m. Pacific edition.
We slept in.
It is our sub slogan on our show is "No Rules Radio." There are no rules at this point in time, but there was once a time when we had a structured. We were on 1 to 3 Eastern, or was it 12 to 2? Whatever, 1 to 3
I don't
Eastern every
remember.
day, and then it kind of morphed into us kind of being a little bit loosey goosey with the time, and now we're doing the show once a week. And Coase, it turns out, you guys informed me this morning, is in Hawaii. So I was thinking all week we're
Yeah,
gonna.
we woke him up.
Yeah.
We woke him up on our morning call. It
I
was like
sent
5 a.m.
I sent him a 5 a.m. text. So here I was thinking all week we're gonna get back in it. I just got back from London. I spent 2 fantastic weeks out there with the lovely Miss Emily, and I flew back on Tuesday to the U.S. And by the way, I will say I'm not a super experienced international traveler. But I'm obviously that is changing a little bit more now. But I may have cracked the code on the quick bounce back from jet lag coming back from Europe to the West
Oh, I
Coast.
need to hear this.
So I think the code is I flew on Tuesday and I left London at 11:45 a.m. London time, and I took a nonstop to SFO. The plane landed at 2:30 p.m. Pacific, so the flight was a little under 11 hours. Which we made good time. We must not have had too much of a jet stream to deal with. So we got in a little bit early, like 15 minutes early, and I stayed awake the entire flight. Did not even it didn't I didn't even close my eyes at any point. I sat down. I got my laptop out. I knew I had a bunch of work I could do.
See, you're like me. You're like me. I cannot sleep on planes. I can't do it.
No, I cannot sleep on planes, even if it's like 3 in the morning. When I would fly with the Timberwolves, there would be rare times where we'd be in the air at 3:30 in the morning, and I would literally be the only person awake. By the way, a lot has happened since last time we were on the air. The Timberwolves are out of the playoffs and watching the NBA Finals, which will start tonight, like everybody else. We'll get into that on today's show. But Matt, I cracked the code, stayed awake the whole time, got home. I was exhausted. Turned down all alcohol on the flight, including champagne, as we were getting close to landing.
Oh, what is wrong with you?
Did
I
yeah,
wouldn't do that.
yeah, did about maybe 4 or 5 cups of coffee on the flight, and then I landed, and I forced myself to stay awake, and I stayed awake until about 9 o'clock at night, which means I was up for I probably had gotten up at I don't know what time it would have been. I probably had gotten up at like 11 p.m. Pacific. So I'd been up for just about 24 hours, which really is, I mean, that's not insanely crazy. But I was up for almost 24 straight hours. But when you throw away in a flight, a train ride from London to the airport, which isn't close, and then a flight, and then landing and driving all the way from San Francisco to Marin during rush hour, just about to get home. I was done, but I forced myself to stay awake. Got a good night of sleep on Tuesday night. Last night got tired probably around 5 o'clock, but forced myself to stay awake until I had a call with my development team for Tickscape in India last night, which didn't end until about 11:15 Pacific time. So I was tired, but I forced myself awake, got a good night of sleep again, and now I think I'm good, man. I think I'm over it. I think I'm over the jet lag without ever really having any jet lag.
Nice. Yeah, we went to London and our flight there was at I think 1 p.m. We left 1 p.m. out of San Francisco, got to London at 7 a.m. and it was not fun. I just remember that. And then going home, I stayed awake the whole flight from. I think I did get some rest on the plane from Rome to DC. No, from DC to California, but from Rome to DC, I just no sleep at all.
Rome to DC. That's not that bad of a flight, though, man. That's just, what is that, probably 7 hours? That's not terrible.
Yeah, but the time change and the I
Yeah.
don't know. Plus, I
Anyway,
was 15. I don't know.
Anyway, I did. So this morning I did get up and I was like, all right, I'm going to. I was. This was. I was all systems go, ready to go for a show, ready to go with Coase, ready to talk about the London experience, ready to get into all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then I found out Coase wasn't going to be on the show, and it kind of. And no offense, I mean Matt, I love doing a show with you as well, but I wanted the whole team together. I wanted the togetherness of the entire team. So it definitely took a little wind out of my sails. But I did get up this morning, and I did add this into the playlist now, Matt.
Wolfpack.
So we got the Wolfpack. I dug that out. I also I dug out a where's the other one? I dug out another one
You suck.
that you will like. Where is the other one that I'm sure you will like? Where did I put it? I'm trying to find it. I uploaded another one that it's just for you, Matt. I also added a rim shot. So I got the rim shot for you now. And
But I got that.
do you have a rim shot? Okay.
Yeah.
And then I can't find the other one that I just uploaded, which I don't know where it is. I uploaded one. Maybe I can find it by doing a search if it actually uploaded.
We need the Jeopardy theme. We need the.
No, I uploaded the one this morning that. Oh, here it is. Here you go.
I am talking. Damn it.
There you go. Yeah, we got that one for you now too.
There we go. That's. I approve. I approve of that one. That's a good one.
By the way, that one got flagged as being explicit from the
I am talking. Damn
from
it.
the soundboard people. They
Oh,
listed
yeah?
that as explicit. So there you go. Anyway, so man, today on the show, I should say, by the way, I'm Dave Benz. That's Matt Fowler. Our intern Bisa is in Las Vegas doing a fantastic
Associate
job as always.
producer.
Associate producer. Yes, I see. I'm out of my groove, man. It's been a couple of weeks since we've done a full show. I made a cameo last week from a pub in London. But I was not. By the way, how did the show go last week after I bounced?
It went okay. We had a few FCC violations. They were so bad that the FCC came in and they said, you're not even regulated by us, but we're going to regulate you because it was that bad. So
man.
it was okay.
All right. Well, we need to get to your. By the way, I haven't heard this in a long time. This is what I need more of in my life right here, Matt. We haven't had that.
Go.
I haven't had that in a
All
while. The breaking news is that the NBA Finals do get underway tonight. The Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. And Matt, before we get into who you think's going to win the series, let's talk a little bit about the conference finals. Indiana was no match for Boston. Boston sweeps them in 4 games after Indiana had a chance to steal game 1 on the road.
No, I was going to say, no, that is deceiving. They absolutely had a chance against Boston. They were up with 5 minutes to go in every single game.
Well, they did not close, and the Timberwolves were up with 5 minutes to go in seemingly every single game against the Dallas Mavericks, and then the Timberwolves could not find a way to close anything
They'll be back,
out.
though. They'll be back.
Yeah,
Timberwolves.
the Timberwolves will be out. By the way, did you see the? Did you see my? I did share it on the group chat. Did you see my tweet I put out yesterday?
No, I did not.
You didn't see my tweet yesterday?
I did not.
Bisa is listening. Let's bring Bisa into the show. I miss Bisa. Bisa, did you see my tweet that I shared on the group chat yesterday? That is the big question for Bisa, our associate producer, because none of you guys reacted to it. And
hey,
hi, Bisa. How's it going?
it's going great. It's finally pool weather.
It's finally pool weather. All right. Well, that's good. That means it's over 100 degrees.
112.
All right, that's fantastic. That definitely sounds like pool weather. Did you see my tweet yesterday?
Yes. No, the only reason why I didn't react because I hate bugs. You can rob me with a bug. I won't fight you.
I was hesitant whether or not to post it for that very reason. I thought to myself, this is a little gross, but I was like, all right. Everybody, knew me as the Ant Fact guy when I was calling the Timberwolves game, so I just felt like it was so apropos for me to post that because of what I was seeing. So I mean, it was there was Matt. There was I happened to be. I was sitting outside of Whole Foods eating a salad, and I happen to look down, and I see this small pile of ants, and they're devouring some kind of piece of food. And as I'm watching this, like, fly lands, and the fly is like, I'm gonna get me some of that, and the ants are all like, they're all backing the fly off. And finally, and I was watching it for probably 30 seconds, and I was like, I gotta tape this. So I pulled out my phone, and I got a video of it. And the
We
ant,
need Snoop Dogg like Animal Planet on this.
yeah,
thing,
the ants were like 10 times smaller than the fly, and the ants drove the fly away. It was like, nature's awesome, man. And it blows my mind to think that, like, that exact scenario is playing out all around us every day, all day long, and we're totally oblivious to it. So there you go. There's my Animal Planet take of the day. Bisa, you've been big time on the texts while I've been gone. Everything NFL related, everything WNBA related, and you're kind of giving me a complex now. You're making me think I need to actually start really paying more attention to what's going on in the WNBA. Bisa, what I did not, in full disclosure, I did not see the video of what happened between. I know you posted it. I was in London, and my Wi-Fi was awful. That's a whole nother story. I did try to play it. It wouldn't play, and I never got back around to look into it. What exactly happened with Caitlin Clark and was it Angel Reese and her teammate?
No,
what exactly happened?
Yeah, so okay, I didn't watch it live. Coles was watching it live. But it seems like while Caitlin was near the I'm definitely gonna give away I don't know sports terminology. While she was near the half court line, this fellow Sky player just kind of just checks her, like pushes her down with her shoulder. And some people were like, hey, that's what she did following Caitlin apparently elbowing her, but from what I saw, it didn't look intentionally done. There's so much happening during a play. It didn't look intentional, but her retaliation to Clark was.
Wow. So, do you think all the attention this is getting is justified?
I feel bad because, like, the WNBA is finally getting some great recognition, and we're showing how catty it can be, and not like any of like the great athleticism there is from this rookie class, from the veteran players. Like, like I just want people to play the game. Like, if you're just like in male basketball, if you're gonna be all competitive and trash talk, keep it on the field, keep it on the court.
Yeah, I agree. Let's keep it on the court. But I will say, secretly in the WNBA headquarters, which I suspect are also the NBA headquarters in New York, I'm going to guess they're not minding who was it, PT Barnum, who said there's no such thing as bad publicity. I'm going to guess that they're not minding that they're in the news cycle, regardless of it not necessarily being the way they want to be in the news cycle.
Yeah. Like, I think for some of them, it's just maybe a little bitter to swallow, because from people who don't really watch the game or people who maybe are more involved, they're just like, hey, Caitlin is the reason why everything's happening. And I think that's making some players or some people resentful towards her when she's brought more light to it for sure. But like, I think it's because people are just saying, hey, if it was for Caitlin Clark, there would be no shoe deals. You guys would still have like 10 people in attendance.
Well,
I think that's what's doing it.
Well, okay, so Bisa, I do have some knowledge that I want to drop on you about about that. So everything is happening because of Caitlin Clark. And there's one graphic, which I don't know how I have the graphic, but I can describe the graphic to you. There was, over the course of the weekend, I think it was this past weekend, there were a bunch of WNBA games on the schedule because it's
the weekend.
Season. Yeah, exactly. And they said the attendance. So the Fever had 2 games over the weekend, and then they said the attendance for all non-Caitlin Clark games not involving Caitlin Clark, attendance, and the highest figure was 8 or 9,000. Did not break the 10,000 mark. Anywhere from 4,000 to 9,000 was, and it was like, it was like 10 games. And then 2 games involving Caitlin Clark, 17,000 plus.
Wow.
So yes, yeah. I mean, that is categorically, you cannot deny data that it is because of Caitlin Clark. It absolutely is.
So she's a draw, and I don't think anybody would dispute that at this point. The numbers have backed it. I don't know what the sustainability of it is. That's what I'm going to be curious about. And I don't think the Fever are very good, right? They're not a good team.
No, which shows you how much of a draw she is. Like they're a bad team, and people don't care. They're still showing up.
Yeah. Well, listen, I will admit that I have not been sucked in on it. I'm curious about it because so many people have been. Now that I'm back, maybe I'll try to put it more on my radar. But yeah, at the end of the day, I don't know. I just want to know, what did Pat McAfee say exactly?
So he was just okay. One of the verbatim parts that he said that got everyone riled up was he called Caitlin Clark a white bitch.
Oh, damn.
And it was like, oh, okay.
Wait, I have one for that. Okay, here we go. You know what's coming.
Bitch, stay in this ballgame.
I mean, and in the context to him saying that, he did say it, tongue in cheek, positively, and he was kind of talking about what we were talking about, how why is this happening? The rookie class, this. He goes, the rookie class is doing great, but what he said was, it's one white bitch that's doing everything. Essentially, that's what he said, and I mean, I wouldn't use that term. He's not. He's not wrong though. I mean, I wouldn't.
Didn't he try to walk it back? Did he?
Well, he did because he called her a white bitch, and you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that. That's why he tried to walk it back, not because of what he said was inaccurate. Just the terminology he used was a little bit too blunt.
Yeah. Well, listen, at the end of the day, that's the whole thing though, right? Like Koz's point, if Koz was here, if women's sports want to be talked about at the same level of men's sports, they have to be able to be talked about in the same way. Now, granted, I don't think that you should slander anybody regardless of gender with that term. That's going too far. So Pat McAfee, but again, talk about a guy who doesn't mind any publicity. All right, so Bisa, the other thing before we let you get back into kind of doing your thing behind the scenes, you did put a couple of things out that I thought were great. You said we were going to talk about Pat McAfee, and obviously Koz isn't here, so I'm not going to dive too deep into that. But you put out something last night that I thought was great, and Koz did respond on Twitter about it. And if people want to respond, Matt, the phone number, is the phone up and running? Did you guys get that straightened out, by the way? We need to talk about that off the air. I don't have the phone number on the screen right now. But is the phone number up and running today, Matt? Should we be trying to take some calls?
I'm gonna say no.
No. Okay. We'll talk about that off the air. So the people can respond on social media if they're watching on social. They can hit us up on Twitter or respond on the live stream feed on YouTube. It was a great question. And Bisa's question was, it wasn't like who's your favorite athlete of all time. It was who was your favorite athlete as a kid. And I took that interpretation, if I'm right about this, Bisa, to be like when I very, very, very first became sports aware. When I first was like, okay, sports. Oh, I like this guy. And then eventually, you get older and you realize, oh, maybe that guy's not really the player I thought he was, and there's better players, whatever. But your very first exposure, like who you liked. And Bisa, do you have an answer to that? Do you remember being a young kid, like who was the first athlete that you remember kind of really being like, wow, that athlete is pretty dope?
It kind of feels like it was ingrained in birth, being from Wisconsin. So like especially in Milwaukee. So like there's always like bars that have like game day specials where you can like just come and they'll feed you for free while you watch the game. Green and gold is just everywhere. Like Wisconsin's a very sports oriented town. Like we rep UW Madison, the Brewers, like Bucks. We rep everybody. So it kind of feels like from birth, like it just kind of be like, oh, I don't know who this person is, but Brett Favre,
Yeah,
or
yeah, right.
or yeah, like it was crazy. Like just I can't even remember who really introduced me, but I just remember just always some type of Wisconsin sport on and people just in their jerseys and yeah.
By the way, if I can jump in on the Wisconsin thing, Bisa, I watched the Brett Favre documentary thing about the thing with the welfare fraud thing, and oh my God, that is absolutely terrible. If he did the thing that they allege he did, which he clearly did based on the evidence that they have. The guy's worth $100 million and you're stealing from the welfare fund to build a thing for your daughter to build a gym for your daughter at her alma mater. That is insane. I mean, Brett Favre is not a good person. I'm sorry. That is terrible. He's a great football player, but that's about it. But
I'll tell you a quick Brett Favre story. I've interacted with Brett on a number of occasions because I was in Green Bay covering him during those prime Packers years, and my personal interactions with Brett were fine. There are no doubt a lot of things that he's done that make you roll your eyes, and there's no denying that. But he was kind of a misguided kid in a lot of ways. And one of the things he did, and we hated it, but I look back on it, and it was kind of a not a cool thing. I'm thinking of a word that starts with a D and ends with a K move by him that he did.
Right.
But I think he was, I don't think he was necessarily doing it because he was trying to be mean. He was doing it because he thought it was funny. But so on Wednesdays would be the first day that they would have open locker room for the Packers to be able to go in and talk about, game day. So Favre would always talk at the podium. He and Mike Holmgren would talk at the podium, and then there'd be open locker room. And whenever we would go into the Packers locker room, when they would first open it, the smell in there was awful. I mean, awful. It smelled like somebody died. And so we found out later on that the reason why it would smell that way is because right before they would open up the doors, apparently Favre kept a can of fart spray in his locker. And he would spray the locker room with fart spray. And then all the veterans would leave and they'd make the rookies stay. And the media would come in there. And the only people in there would be like the rookies and the media. And we'd be sitting in there smelling fart spray. So that was good. Those were good times. Good days.
Oh, man.
Anyway, how we got on the Brett Favre topic, I don't know. But the other topic, going back to because we were talking about first influences in sports. And I agree with you, B. So like I posted on my tweet, John Riggins was the first football player that I really kind of identified with because when I first started watching football, the Redskins were really good. They were on TV all the time, and John Riggins was their star running back. So I kind of, became he kind of became the guy in my mind. And I really had to think about that answer, by the way, because I was a late bloomer with football. I didn't start watching football until I was like probably 13 or 14. Basketball, my answer falls in with what you were saying. I said a guy named Eric Sanifer, and Eric was a fantastic college basketball player at Syracuse. Not really much of a pro career, maybe played overseas a little bit, but he was the star on like the early 80s Syracuse teams when I first started watching, and so I was a big Eric Sanifer fan. And then but my favorite athlete, you only asked about basketball and football, and my dad was a big baseball fan, so my first really sports awareness was with baseball. And I was a huge Greg Nettles fan. My dad was a Yankees fan, and so the Yankees were always on, and Nettles was the third baseman for the Yankees, and had an amazing glove, and had a little bit of pop. There was one year he led the American League in home runs. Of course, it's debatable as to whether or not he corked his bat. Probably not even debatable. Pretty well known that he did. But hey, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And he was. I had his poster on my wall. I can remember having his poster on my wall in my room when I was a kid. So those were my early sports awareness favorite athletes. I would not put any of those three on my list of favorite athletes now that I've had a lifetime of experience of watching sports. But when I became sports aware, that was definitely the group for me. Matt, you who do you have on your list?
So probably two. Barry Bonds, because the Giants were. That was back in the Bonds heyday. The Giants weren't very good, except for when they went to the World Series in 2002 and lost to the Angels in 7 games. I don't remember much about that World Series, but I was there when Bonds hit 700, so that was really cool as a 15-year-old kid. And then around that time, I started really getting into basketball, and Baron Davis for the longest time was my favorite player until I figured out that he's kind of a jerk.
Well, that could be a problem.
I figured it out years later because I was in a broadcasting seminar thing for students, and this reporter for the Utah Jazz came in to speak with us, and she had I had told her that my favorite team was the Warriors, and she goes, "Oh, I have a story." And essentially, without getting into it, basically, Baron Davis, he would not let her interview him because she refused to date him, will be the polite word.
Wow, how about that?
And
That's a Chernobyl level right there, baby. That's
and she told the story about going into the locker room during that second round series with the Jazz after the Warriors had beaten the Mavericks in the We Believe year. And she went in, and Dave, how the locker room is, and so do I. The players are there, and there's certain ones are in towels, and sometimes there's players walking around naked, but most of the time they're in towels and they're respectful. And so she said I wanted to interview Baron, and so Baron heard this and says, "Okay, hang on, let me put my towel on." And he comes out and he's not wearing a towel. And and
all right. Well, there you go. The locker room is it's an interesting, it's a big conundrum. I honestly kind of thought that the open locker room thing might go away after COVID, because it is, in a lot of ways, it's a product of a bygone era when, the writers, they're back in the day. And it all really goes back to baseball, right? Because baseball was the first big sport on the sports landscape. And baseball, the history in baseball predates the NFL, predates the NBA, predates the NHL. It was baseball back in like the 20s and 30s. And these sports writers, they'd go into the locker room and they'd, basically just sit there and chat with the players. And it wasn't a big deal whether the players were walking around without towels or whatever, because number one, it was a time when, wrong or right, and I would say it was definitely wrong, and it was, a short way of thinking. But in that day, there were not female sports reporters. So you didn't have to worry about the other gender being in the locker room and seeing these guys with their clothes off. And number two, there weren't cameras. So it was a much more relaxed environment. But now we're in this day and age where you have multiple, you have both genders, multiple genders, but there's only two as far as I know. We won't get into that topic. But you have, you basically, you have everybody in the locker room, and there's cameras everywhere. And in what other line of work do people get put in a situation where they might have to actually like talk to the media and answer questions where there's people running around without their clothes on, or you're in a towel and somebody's waiting for you to, you've come out of the shower and somebody's waiting for you to get dressed in front of your locker, and you literally have just come out of the shower and now you've got to turn your back and like drop your towel and put your drawers on. It's in my mind, it's got to be done away with, the open locker room. But the problem with that is that these players, if you don't allow the media into the locker room, they're going to get dressed and they're going to sneak out the back door because they're not going to want to have to deal with the media. So how you find that balance, I don't know, but I just think that it needs to go away. And going back to what you talked about with Baron Davis, Matt, I mean, it's not a good situation. Players can do things that are completely inappropriate, but at the same time they're put in situations where that opportunity shouldn't be presenting itself. If the female wasn't there in the locker room, then that wouldn't be an issue. If it was, you know what I mean? So it's a really big conundrum.
Well, and here's a question that I'm sure neither Dave nor I have the answer to. Although, I mean, maybe Dave, you know some people, but I'm assuming for something like the WNBA, I'm assuming there is, and justifiably so, a double standard with that. I'm assuming the locker room in the WNBA is a very much more regulated, because,
I don't know
guys
if
are
I don't
terrible.
know. I don't know it's been a long time since I've covered the WNBA, so I don't know what their locker room policy is. But I think, what they should probably do is build, there should be a room that everybody has to go through to exit, that is kind of like a lobby area. That's not necessarily a locker room, but you force the players, they have to go through that room to leave. They have to go through that room to leave. So if you really want to get somebody and you really want to interview somebody, you might have to sit there and wait it out, because a lot of players will sit in that locker room and wait for the media to leave so that they don't have to deal with it. But, if you're tenacious enough to sit there, eventually they're going to come walk through there because it's the only way out of the building, for them to leave. So I don't know. Again, I'm just shooting from the hip, but I just feel like the open locker room policy is it really needs to be reexamined. And I thought for sure with COVID, when they closed all the locker rooms, that it was something that would not get brought back. But, that's a tangent I wasn't expecting to go on, but there you go.
Well, yeah, locker rooms are, it's definitely a cool thing the first time you do it, to be able to go into the locker room and talk to the players. But after you've done it a few times, it's, these guys are they're getting dressed and they're answering questions, and it's very much the same. I did it when I covered Tim Lincecum's no-hitter, actually. I happened to be there on June 25th of 2012 when Lincecum threw his second no-hitter against the San Diego Padres. And Orlando Cepeda had told me to shut up when I mentioned the no-hitter in about the sixth inning. So that was pretty funny. And I walked in, and Sergio Romo was singing Call Me Maybe, because that was the song back then. And Pablo Sandoval was running around. Thankfully, he had a towel on. But it's just, it's a fun environment, but it's still a workplace, which is weird, to your point. But
Yeah,
anyway,
it's totally weird. Anyway, all right. So if you have a thought on that, on locker rooms, if you have a thought on who your favorite players were when you became sports aware, hit us up on at LFG Radio on Twitter. And or Instagram or any of the channels, and Bisa will be monitoring that. And Bisa will probably bring you back in about a half an hour for the close of the show. We're going to do the mailbag coming up a little bit later. We're going to do a very short break at the bottom of the hour, and then get a sports update from Matt Fowler. But we got a lot. We got to move along. We got a lot we got to get into, because we got to talk about being Matt's bookie at some point. But before we get into being Matt's bookie, Matt, I wanted to get real quick into the NBA Finals, which do start tonight. The Timberwolves, as we mentioned, the Celtics get past the Pacers in 4. I did not see very much of the Timberwolves series because I was in London. and the time was not good. And it was so funny. I felt like the Timberwolves were going to win Game 4, and when I woke up the next morning, and I said to Emily, I was like, oh, can you pull it up on your phone? I'm curious who won. And as she was loading it, I go, I think the Timberwolves won last night. And in my gut, and I was right, and they did. They avoided the sweep at the hands of the Mavericks. But boy, Luka Doncic is pretty good. And the Dallas Mavericks going into this series against the Celtics, they are playing some of the best basketball that we've seen out of anybody in a long time. They got past the Thunder, I think, a lot easier than everybody was expecting. They probably should have closed that series out in 5. Matt, who are you taking in this series? Who's your pick for this NBA Finals?
My pick is Boston wins Game 1 and the Mavericks win the series.
Boston win games. Okay. All right. Interesting stat that I saw. Kyrie Irving, for whatever it's worth, this is the kind of minutia that is out there when you've got a big break between the finals and the end of the conference finals. Kyrie Irving has made 32 straight free throws at Boston Garden as a visitor going back to 2017. So we'll see whether or not that streak continues. You could probably get some money on that. I think that streak probably continues.
Really? Well, you know what it is? You know what it is? Is that in Boston, he figured out that the curvature of the earth was more flat.
Yes, exactly.
That's why that happened.
Yeah, okay, that's why that happened. Are you surprised at all, Matt, that the Timberwolves, I think you thought the Timberwolves were going to win that series against the Mavericks.
I really did think, and I think this is just a case of a team getting to the big stage, one round before the finals where the bright lights are on, and the moment was just a little too big for them. And I fully expect, Ant played decent sometimes, and then other times just didn't have it. And I feel like they're going to come back and they're going to do very well next year and possibly get back there and get to the finals. But I really was surprised how well the Mavericks played. The Wolves should have definitely won Game 1. Well, they were up just like the Indiana Pacers. They were up all of the games with 5 minutes left by 3 or 4. So they had the chance.
You did say Wolves.
That.
You did say Wolves. Just so you know, I had to call you on it. Yeah, they should listen. They should have won a lot of those games. But here's the thing. And I thought about trying to get Jim Peterson on today. And then I knew we were going to have an abbreviated show and that, we weren't going to be all systems go. So if we're going to be fully locked and loaded next week, which the plan is to be fully locked and loaded with a minimum of a 2-hour show every Thursday, possibly a 3-hour show, which I think, if we are fully locked and loaded, I'm good for 3 hours because we'll do a celebrity MMA and a mailbag in a 3-hour show, which will be great. And I'm pretty sure that the day that I get Jim Peterson to come on, unless if you get Mike Breen next week, then maybe we don't do Jim Peterson next week. We could do both, which would be interesting. We could have Jim and Mike on at the same time. That'd be fascinating.
We could.
But
can you imagine the people just watching this show just like, wait, did they just say that they were going to have Mike Breen on? Isn't he doing the finals?
Yeah. Well, so Jim though. Listen, the day that I haven't asked Jim to come on yet because I don't want to put either of us in an uncomfortable situation. And so I was kind of waiting to see what happened with the finals before I asked him. But, I do think Jim and I have not been on the air together since the last time we were on the air together. And and so
let's reunite. Let's do it.
I think for me to get Jim on would be awesome. I know he would do it, and we would have a lot of fun. So I want to have him on. But the reason I'm bringing him up, and I'm going to ask him about this when we get him on. So Jim was in Minnesota considerably longer than I was, and Jim was calling games. I believe he was the radio analyst in 2004. He was not doing TV yet. I might be wrong, but he was either radio or TV, but he was definitely the analyst in 2004. And I bring up 2004 because in 03-04, the Timberwolves went to the Western Conference Finals.
Right.
They had the dramatic win over the Sacramento Kings to get to the Western Conference Finals, where KG jumped up on the scorer's table in the semifinals after they won it, and it was an iconic moment in Timberwolves history. And then they lose a really tight Western Conference Finals series against the Lakers, against Kobe and the Lakers, and they had a couple of things gone a little bit differently in that series. They could have beaten Kobe and the Lakers and gone to the Western Conference Finals. And do you know what Jim told me that everybody around the organization and the fan base, what the prevailing thought was at the end of that season when that Western Conference Finals series ended against the Lakers? Do you know what their prevailing thought was?
What?
The prevailing thought was, we are on the verge of being a dynasty.
Oh, no.
KG is in his prime. We are locked and loaded. We are ready to take our seat at the table amongst the NBA elite. And guess what happened? They didn't go back to the playoffs for 14 years.
That in fact did not happen.
They didn't even go back to the playoffs for 14 years. So yeah, do I think that Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves have a very bright future and they potentially could be a team that is going to be heard from over the next, just next year, but the next several years? For sure, I believe that. But am I naive enough to think that it's a slam dunk going to happen? Given the Timberwolves and the city of Minneapolis' sports history, I gotta say no. Like, I would not put any money on that. I would not put any money on the Timberwolves making it to the NBA Finals, let alone winning a title. I hope I'm wrong, and I would love to see that franchise in that city have some success. But man, that is the history with what happened in 04 is not good, and we'll ask Jim about that when he comes on the show.
Yeah, I mean, you're basing that off of what happened the last time they were quote unquote this good. So I'm not necessarily down with your analysis. But I'll choose to think positive. You were the one in Minnesota for 10 years, so you know how it works. And I know how it works too, because I was there for a year. But I just think that they're set up really well, and we'll see. We'll see soon enough. I mean, if they don't do anything, then I'll be inclined to think that you're right.
All right. Well, listen. We're due for a break. We haven't taken one yet. Let's do a very quick timeout. And Matt, this is going to be super quick because I was trying to load in the whoa, I didn't mean to have the music come on that hot. I was trying to load in the some more commercials this morning, and I ran into a couple of technical issues. By the way, I'll tell you on the air right now, Matt, if you get a notice to update your Loopback, do not do it. That was part of the issue that I had.
Okay.
There's a new version of Loopback, and it sent everything into a tizzy. So I don't have a lot of commercials loaded. In fact, I got one 30-second commercial loaded from my buddy Castroy and The Well and the Collectible Network. So we're going to run that. Then when we come back, we'll get the Matt Fowler Sports Update, Being Matt's Bookie, and the Mailbag all ahead on this abbreviated Thursday edition of LFG. Back in just a moment. All right, Matt, we're already back. The commercial didn't play. All right, here you go. I'll play you this one instead. We need one commercial. Here we go. Let's see. What do I got? I got, where is my commercials tab here? I have a commercials tab. Let me get my commercials tab on my audio only commercials. Who do you want to hear? You want to hear Saul Goodman, or do you want to hear Lightning McQueen?
Lightning McQueen's good.
Lightning McQueen, here you go. It's only 18 seconds. I'll play them both. We'll hear Lightning and Saul Goodman, and then a Matt Fowler sports update.
Okay.
Yes. Lightning McQueen here, and I use Rusty's medicated bumper ointment, new rear end formula. Nothing sues a rusty bumper like Rusty's. Wow, look at that shine. Use Rusty's, and you too can look like me. Ka-chow!
I had a good job until my boss accused me of stealing. I better call Saul. I was out partying, minding my own business.
You are under arrest.
I'd better call Saul.
Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. Did you know that you have rights? The Constitution says you do, and so do I. I believe that until proven guilty, every man, woman, and child in this country is innocent. And that's why I fight for you, Albuquerque.
Better call Saul. It's the bottom of the hour, or close enough. Time for your Tickscape Studios Sports Update with Matt Fowler.
One of the richest men in the world and former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg will be joining Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lurie's ownership group to buy the Minnesota Timberwolves. So that is, you know, I'm speechless. That came out of left field. The Chernobyl is going. Dave, what the hell? That's crazy.
Is that it? Is that the entire sports update?
Yeah.
Okay, we need to transition to the other big news too, but my thought on that is they are in arbitration now for what's going on with the Timberwolves ownership group. I don't know that really, you know, I'm just seeing that cold, so I really don't know the details of it. But my initial thought is I'm not sure it makes a difference because it doesn't affect the deal that the Timberwolves, that Glenn Taylor, the contract that he signed to, you know, sell portions of the team or the majority of share of the team to Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lurie. Michael Bloomberg wasn't on that deal. So if Mark Lurie if Mark Lurie and Alex Rodriguez, as of now, they own 40% of the Timberwolves, and if they want to sell part of their 40% to Michael Bloomberg, then, you know, that's all fine and dandy. But I don't know that that's going to help them get any more of the other 60%. Michael Bloomberg's not on that deal, so that's not going to affect the arbitration in any way, as far as I could see. You know, I don't know the inner workings of the deal, and I'm not a lawyer, but I would think Michael Bloomberg wasn't on the radar or written into that deal when it was constructed 3.5 years ago. So I can't see Michael Bloomberg factoring into that right now. That to me sounds more like they're trying to get a media play out of this and get some publicity out of it, to try to sway public opinion more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, you would know more than me, but that is kind of crazy that somebody like Michael Bloomberg would do that.
Yeah. Okay, the other big news, and I don't want to play a Chernobyl level thing because, this is, I don't want to make any lightness out of this. Some disturbing news out of Kansas City. Kansas City, a lot of the NFL teams are having their OTAs right now, organized team activities, and Kansas City Chiefs, they postponed their practice today after a medical emergency was announced, occurred at the facility. The team announced that defensive lineman B.J. Thompson was taken to the hospital in an ambulance after he went into cardiac arrest and suffered a seizure. It didn't happen on the field. It happened during a special teams meeting. But nonetheless, that is disheartening news and some pretty serious news out of Kansas City. So, keep an eye on that, and, thoughts and prayers out to B.J. Thompson, his family, and the Kansas City Chiefs. That is not the kind of news that you ever want to have in relation with anything in life, let alone an NFL OTA going on.
Yeah, that was going to be my original news update, but then all I saw was Chernobyl level alert and so I pivoted. But that's
all right. All right. So Matt, let's get into we're going to do mailbag, and but before we get into mailbag, we really need to get into the order of business. Which did you guys, by the way, do this last week? Where is it? Here we go. Here's the open for Matt's favorite segment.
What's a weekend of sports without a little action? And no one craves the action more than gambling degenerate aficionado Matt Fowler.
How many sandwiches will he lose this week?
It's time for another edition of Being Matt's Bookie.
All right, Matt Fowler, did you and Coase play this segment last week?
We did not.
All right, so that means that your losing streak is still intact, or mine and Cose's winning streak.
Sandwich scoreboard update.
It also means the sandwich scoreboard update is unchanged. As of right now, Matt Fowler owes Jim Cosamore 10 sandwiches, and he owes me 8 sandwiches. We did make a side bet off the air involving the big news last week about Donald Trump being found guilty. Matt Fowler put up 100 sandwiches that Donald Trump will be sentenced to jail time, and I said there's no chance that happens. I'm not feeling quite as confident in my bet now. I don't want to get into politics talk, but it is a fact that he has been found guilty and that there is going to be a sentencing coming up in July, and we're going to and that jail time is possible. So you and I, you're adamant he's going to jail. I'm like, I don't think so, but yeah, I don't know. All bets are off, and I probably shouldn't have jumped on that bet because all we put up was 100 sandwiches. 100 sandwiches are on the line on that one.
So there's a theoretical possibility that you could owe me by November. You could owe me 200 sandwiches?
Yeah, because you and I also have a wager. You bet 100 sandwiches that RFK is going to be elected president in November.
I did.
And I believe I gave you odds on that. Is that 4-1? I could owe you 500 sandwiches.
You did give me odds on that, actually. Now I remember that. So, but here's the thing, and this is only fair, and I'm sure you'll let me do this, but if I win the Donald Trump bet, you got to let me cash in at least a couple of those sandwiches because you cashed in three sandwiches, although we made it one because it was an expensive one, but you cashed in 3 sandwiches. So you got to let me at least cash in at least for one lunch meal.
Well, listen, at the very least, it'll wipe away the 8 sandwiches that you owe me currently. So,
then you'll owe me 92.
Yeah, but you're probably going to owe me more at the end of this week. So let's get to the action. What are you looking for your action for this week? You're gonna go with this NBA game? You're gonna go with the series? You're going somewhere else? What do you got on your radar?
Ooh, I have just one. Before the apocalypse happens and all, I want to actually win one of these bets. So I'm just going to go with a straight bet that the Boston Celtics are going to cover the spread tonight.
And what is the line tonight?
6.5.
Okay. How many sandwiches are you going?
10.
10 sandwiches. You're going with 10 sandwiches. I don't know if I'm 10 sandwich rich on that bet. I think the Celtics might cover that. So I might be, because I want to play the game, I'd be willing to go 5 sandwiches. I'm not going 10 sandwiches.
Okay. I'll make that deal.
All right. So we got 5 sandwiches on the Celtics, and you're taking the Celtics minus 6.5. I got Luka and the Mavs plus 6.5. So That's how that's playing out. All right. Well, that's perfect. And as far as the series, I think we both kind of agree. We both think that there's a pretty good chance that the Dallas Mavericks are going to be the NBA champions.
I hope so. I hope so, because I can't stand to see. I can't stand Boston. I can't. I mean, on the other side, seeing Kyrie Irving win another ring will kind of piss me off, but not as much as if Boston wins.
Who's the best player in this series? Is it Luka or is it Jason Tatum?
Luka.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think there's much doubt about that at this point. Luka's playing on a whole nother level. All right, let's get to our mailbag. Do you, Matt? Do you have your letter today from ChatGPT, courtesy of Bisa?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
We get letters. We get stacks and stacks of letters.
All right, we open the mailbag every Thursday here on LFG. It's one of our favorite segments, and we will clearly keep that going, even though we're only on a once-a-week show. Matt, we'll let you read your letter first.
All right. And this is addressed specifically to me, not LFG.
Interesting.
So, dear Matt Fowler, I hope this letter finds you well, possibly enjoying a thrilling episode of Being Matt's Bookie, or perhaps tallying up your recent losses. I just wanted to extend my heartfelt thanks for your invaluable betting tips. Truly, they've been a game changer. Your advice on the odds has been particularly enlightening. Who knew that following your bets could lead to such consistent outcomes? The consistency being, of course, they're consistently wrong. It's like you'd have a sixth sense for picking the least likely winners. Impressive, really. Thanks to you, I've learned the art of humility and how to be a gracious loser. Keep up the great work. Best regards to Capita Marcano.
Wow. I do we know who that is? I don't know who.
You don't know?
I don't know who T. Marcano is. Who's T. Marcano?
He was the player for the San Diego Padres. He's the first player to be
yes. Banned for life.
Baseball.
Yes. By the way, did you see the baseball games he bet on? He only hit on like 4%.
Yeah, like I was talking to my friends about this. Like, if I'm gonna go down with the ship, I mean, you got to use inside info. You got to get some stuff right, man. Come on. That's kind of pathetic. And
did you hear about the guy involved in the Jontay Porter scheme?
I saw it. I didn't read it.
He was trying to get out of Dodge. He knew the heat was coming, and he got caught. They arrested him at an airport in New York. I think it was LaGuardia. As he was attempting to check in for a flight to Australia, he had purchased a one-way ticket.
Oh, well, okay. What charges could he be facing? I mean, that's not... It is serious, but I mean, that's
felony conspiracy. I mean, I don't know exactly what the laws are, but I know there's laws against the conspiracy to have a player fix a game. And Jontay Porter has come out on record now and said, yes, that he was doing this to pay off gambling debts that he had accrued, and that he had told this guy, I'm going to say I got hurt and I'm going to leave the games early. And the first time they did it, the guy made a bet and he made $40,000. And that's the thing. That's what you don't usually get caught the first time sneaking a cookie out of the cookie jar. It's when you think, wow, that was easy, I'm going to go back and get another one. Or when you tell people about how easy it was to get a cookie out of the cookie jar, that's when these people usually end up getting caught. So
yeah, and then sometimes people ask you if you ate the cookies and you got chocolate all over your face, and you go, "No, I didn't eat the cookies."
I don't know where the cookies went. All right, let's go to my letter. We do have 3 today, by the way. So if Bisa wants to come in and read number 3, that would be great. My letter, which I need glasses for. Dear LFG, I hope this message finds you well and full of that signature energy and insight you bring to everything. Oh, that's very kind. I'm reaching out because I could use some of that wisdom right now. As you might have heard, my recent comments about Caitlin Clark have stirred up quite the storm, and I'm feeling heat from all sides. I've always been one to speak my mind, but it looks like I've managed to touch a nerve this time. The backlash has been intense, and I'm looking for the best way to navigate through this and cool things down a bit. You have a knack for turning things around and getting people back on their side, so I'm hoping you can give me some pointers on how to handle this situation. Should I issue a formal apology, maybe do a segment where I clarify my intentions and express my respect for Caitlin, or perhaps there's a way to spin this into something positive where we can shift the focus to a broader conversation about sportsmanship and respect? Thanks a ton, man. Best, McAfee, no relation to the software. So P. McAfee, looking for some advice. Listen, the only thing I'll say is if you've come to LFG for advice, you're beyond help. So I can't really, I can't really help you on that one. You stepped in it, Mr. McAfee, and you're gonna have to own that one for a little while.
I mean, but this is the same guy that's on WWE Raw, so wasn't this kind of expected in some way, shape, or form? That type of brashness.
I would say you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Let's get to our final letter, and we'll bring Bisa, our associate producer, back into the mix. Bisa, what do you got in your mailbag today?
All right. So, dear LFG Studios, I hope this message finds you well and thriving. I'm reaching out to you today to address a matter that has been brought to my attention with increasing frequency: my coverage of the WNBA in comparison to other sports. I take great pride in delivering comprehensive and balanced sport coverage across all platforms. I'm committed to promoting and supporting the WNBA and its incredibly talented athletes, and I believe their stories and achievements deserve the spotlight just as much as any other sport. That being said, I would greatly appreciate your support in showcasing the work I have done and continue to do in covering the WNBA. Your platform has remarkable reach and influence, and I believe that a collaborative effort can help to highlight and celebrate the coverage the WNBA rightfully deserves. Whether it's a feature segment, a collaborative interview, or a spotlight on some of the key stories and analysis I provided on the WNBA, your support could go a long way in affirming the dedication we both share to advancing women's sports. Thank you for considering this request. I'm confident that together we can continue to elevate the conversation around the WNBA and ensure it receives the recognition it deserves. Best regards, S.A. Smith, or affectionately known Sass.
Sass, love it. All right. Well, that was interesting. We got. It's good to know we've got so many people from the Worldwide Leader watching us and listening to our show, our little show here on LFG. Listen, I will say, as I said earlier in the show, the amount of coverage that the WNBA is getting, whether it's getting it in a positive manner that it would like or not, is unprecedented, and there's no such thing as bad publicity. So they're in the headlines. Can they take advantage of it and carry it on? And the other thing is, this is kind of a time where it's not really, aside from the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals, which get underway this weekend, Matt, I know you're watching baseball because, you are a big gambling aficionado, and I know you had a good week this week outside of our sandwich wagering. But, I enjoy a baseball game, but I can't say I'm going to build my schedule around watching baseball. And I just feel like there's nothing really that is moving the needle with me right now with sports for the next little bit. And it's kind of a down time of the year in that regard.
I totally agree with you. I've always felt that way, regardless of wagering or not. I mean, wagering is a completely different mindset than watching the game just to watch the game. And yeah, I agree. I don't like this time of year after the finals because we just have baseball and, mid-season baseball, not like exciting baseball. We're going to see who's going to get the pennant or get the divisions, but just, Tuesdays in July that's just not.
But what is interesting is this, right? I was just, as you guys know, I was in London for 2 weeks, and Emily and I went bike riding through London one day, and we went. It was last Saturday, and we went past Hyde Park, which is basically, their version of Central Park, huge park in the heart of London. And there were so many fans there. They had it set up for a viewing party for, I believe it was the Euro Cup final. And it was Real Madrid against, I don't remember the other team, but it was a team, I believe it was a Dutch team. And the place was packed. And there were signs all over for, all the football, as they call it over there, festivities that are taking place. Not only were taking place this weekend, but all summer long. And the summertime is the heart of their biggest sports season, on the calendar. So they're all primed and pumped up and ready. And I love baseball. I'm not trying to throw shade at baseball, but again, it's not going to generate the excitement the way the NFL does or the way that soccer does over internationally, in part probably because there are so many games and it's more of a social game. So I don't know. I just feel like, I wish we had something like that more in the summer that we could look forward to. And the WNBA is trying to fill that void. And we will have the Olympics coming up in another month. So obviously that will, really fill the void in a big way. But, yeah, it's I'm envious of the excitement level for soccer right now going on overseas.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you just said. I can't really. Yeah, yeah, baseball doesn't really move the needle.
Yeah. All right. So, Matt, real quick, final thought from you before we say goodbye. As Bisa's got a couple of friends with her there in Las Vegas. Matt. Mic stand. What's the status? Is that coming at Pony Express, or what's the deal with the mic stand?
I still have it. I just gotta set it up.
Okay. All right. Because every time you got to reach and grab the mic, it's kind of like, oh, what is he doing?
Well, I mean, I'm holding it. I mean, I just put it down, just once, but.
Okay. By the way, that's my alien sound effect. I'm going to, this is the other breaking news. Guess where I'm going to be spending my 4th of July?
Where's that?
Roswell, New Mexico. I'm going to the UFO museum to do a shoot at the UFO museum. Yeah, there you go. And they've got a big UFO party going on every year. It's 4th of July, so I'll be there for that. And I'm taking Brendan with me. And Brendan, I told him, I broke the news to him today, and he was he was not excited. It was not a good sign. He was like, wait, what? You're taking me where? Roswell, New Mexico? He couldn't care less. I'm like, dude, it's a historic place. Like, there's been huge books and movies made about this, and he's like, yeah, not really interested. He's not excited about going to Roswell. I did have a trivia question for you and Coz today, Matt. I don't know if should we do it? Should we do one trivia question and flip it before we say goodbye? We'll bring Bisa in on this because Bisa is usually our trivia person. So I came up with an idea. We've talked about this on the show before about my idea about doing the show for the Arena, the Netflix series, and when the Dallas Stars looked like they had a chance to go to the Stanley Cup Finals, I wrote a proposal and sent it to some of my friends in Dallas and was like, hey, we need to do this. And we need to do like a 1 month, like be at the AAC in Dallas every day for the Stanley Cup and NBA Finals. And there are 2 concerts taking place during that time frame, as Bisa had sent to us. Megan Thee Stallion was one of them, and I forget who the other one is. It's Russ the Rapper was the other one. So it really could have been fascinating to see the changeover with the concerts and the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals. Russ, he's a rapper. Not really somebody that I'm familiar with, but apparently he's got a big following, big enough to be able to sell tickets at the American Airlines Center in Dallas. So he's doing better than any of us. So at the end of the day, I sent off a proposal. I was thinking this could actually happen. We might actually do this. So I did a little bit of research. And so my question for you, Matt, and BC, you can chime in on this if you want. Let me what do I usually? I usually do the match game music. So let me pull up a little match game music trivia, and we will close the show out on this. I wasn't expecting necessarily to throw this in, but I figure it's a good way to close. So let me get our trivia match game music. And Matt, I deliberately did not give you the question in advance because I know that you are apt to look things up, and I did not want you to do that. So, so the question is, hold on, match game theme extended. Here we go. All right, let me play this. There we go. We got the music. All right, the question for you guys is, I'll ask you two questions. The first question is, true or false? In the history of the NBA and the NHL, and it goes back to 1949. So since 1949, that's the year both leagues were in existence and playing championships. True or false? A city, at least one city, has won both titles in the same season. True or false?
True.
True. Bisa?
I'll say true. I think it's like not something that happens regularly, but it could have happened.
No city has ever. It's mind-blowing. We're talking 75 years. No city has ever won both the NBA and NHL titles in the same year. That is mind-blowing to me. There have been 8 times in which one city has had both of their teams playing for the championship. It's only happened 8 times. Out of those 8 times, 5 times one of the 2 teams won the title, and 3 times neither team won the title. And those 3 times must have been miserable in those cities because you had both your teams having a chance to win a title and neither one of them won it. But 5 times one of the 2 won it, 3 times neither won it, 0 times has it been won by both. My question for you is, the 8 times it's happened, there have been 5 cities that have laid claim to being a participant and having both their teams play for the title. Can you name the 5 cities?
I want to say Philly.
Philadelphia. Where is my? Here you go for Philadelphia. That's not the one I wanted. But yes, Philadelphia is correct. There you go. This is the one I wanted. There you go. Philadelphia is correct. Philadelphia had happened once in 1980.
I'm gonna say the Boston.
Oh wait. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Sorry, Matt. Yes, Boston is that. Ignore that buzzer. Boston is correct. Boston is one of the 5. There are 3 cities remaining.
New York.
New York. Yes, New York is correct.
I want to. Let's see. No. Wait. No.
I need an answer.
Texas now.
Texas is not a city.
Dallas. Sorry.
No. We're not. Okay, Bisa.
Chicago.
Chicago is correct.
I got all 3 right.
There is 1 city remaining. I will give you guys each 3 guesses, and Matt, I will put up a sandwich that you cannot in combined 6 guesses you guys will not get this, and you better not be looking up the answer right now.
I'm not.
All right, so you're taking that bet. I'll put up a sandwich that in your combined 6 guesses you guys will not get the 5th city.
And these are cities to have 2 teams play for the title.
Yes, in the same season. The NBA and NHL title.
NBA and NHL.
So we've got Philly, Chicago, New York, and Boston. And there's one more city. Are you taking the bet, by the way?
Yes, I'm taking the bet.
Okay, all right.
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee is incorrect.
All right, you go, Bisa.
Detroit?
Detroit is incorrect.
Man, Houston?
Houston doesn't have an NHL team, so that would be
Oh.
difficult.
Oh, NHL. Okay.
Atlanta?
All right, so you guys each have one guess remaining. I'm going to give you one clue. It was the most recent occurrence of this happening. The last time it happened, this was the city. And so I'm not going to give you any more details other than that, but it is the last time one city had both their teams playing for the championship, this was the city.
I don't know if I know the city name, but I think I can guess the team name. Was it the Oilers, whoever they have? Or whoever they're with? Okay.
Toronto.
Matt Fowler, you owe me another sandwich.
Damn it.
The correct answer, I'm sorry to tell you guys, is the correct answer is East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Who the hell would guess that?
Wait, what team does New Jersey have?
The New Jersey
Wait
Devils.
a minute. Hang on. Hang on a second.
The New
That
Jersey
doesn't-
Devils
that
and the New
doesn't
Jersey
count.
Nets.
No.
They have the New
no.
Jersey Devils
That
and the
doesn't-
New
that
Jersey
does
Nets.
not
How does
count.
that not count? How
Because
does
they're
that not
the
count?
New Jersey Nets anymore.
But they were then. The New Jersey Devils and the New Jersey Nets. They played in East Rutherford, New Jersey. They both played for the championship in 2003, and neither one of them won it, by the way.
Dang.
You cheated. That sucks.
How did I cheat? How did I cheat? How did I cheat? I was not cheating. It's a fact.
Because the New Jersey Nets suck. Why would we think that they would do it?
There you go. There's your final take of the day. I love it. That's a good way to close out the show.
Sandwich scoreboard update.
Matt Fowler now owes me 9 sandwiches, and I guess I'm building up some equity, so when I have to pay that 100, it won't hurt quite so much. That's going to do it for this Thursday overtime, but still yet abbreviated edition of LFG. We'll be back next Thursday, and hopefully locked and loaded. And maybe Matt Fowler's going to break out Mike Breen to join us, as he'll have the day off doing the NBA Finals.
Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe. Bisa, thanks as always. Good times. Keep it coming on the chat. And Coz, if you're watching, enjoy Hawaii. And hopefully the gang will be all back together next Thursday. We'll see you, everybody.